Sunday, the 19th of April 2026, the Etihad Stadium, Arsenal travel to Manchester City in what is, without question, the most important Premier League fixture in over a decade. Arsenal are top of the table, Manchester City are second. 6 points separate the top two. Both clubs have 6 games remaining, and the entire destiny of this Premier League title could be decided in 90 minutes. This is not a normal game. This is not a regular fixture on the calendar. The situation is genuinely historic. It is now clear that only 8 times in the entire history of the Premier League has the team sitting first faced the team sitting second this late in the season, with both sides inside their final 7 games and with as few as 6 points between them. 8 times in over 30 years of Premier League football, and Sunday will be the 9th. The last time this happened was the 27th of April 2014. Liverpool were top. Chelsea was second, Steven Gerrard slipped, the title went elsewhere. That moment is burned into football memory forever. 12 years later, Arsenal stand in Liverpool's position, and the pressure on every single player wearing red and white on Sunday is enormous. Let that sink in for a moment. This is not just a big game, this is a generational moment. Let me be completely clear about what is on the line here. If Arsenal win on Sunday, they will have one hand firmly on the Premier League trophy for the first time in 22 years. 22 years without a league title, 22 years of coming close, falling short, finishing second, losing leads, and one win on Sunday night changes all of that. If Arsenal lose, Manchester City become the new favourites. They would go level on points or potentially move ahead. City, a team that has won the title multiple times under Pep Guardiola, would have the momentum, the experience and the belief to close the season out. Arsenal's form coming into this game, which I will analyse in full detail, has shown cracks. And those cracks become canyons if they lose at the Etihad. If you want deeper analysis on stories like this and you want to understand not just what is happening, but why it matters and what it means, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is here for serious Arsenal analysis, nothing less. Now, let me take you through everything I know about this fixture, player by player, manager by manager, detail by detail, the historical context, going back through every occasion where the Premier League's top two have met this late in the season, with this few points separating them, a clear pattern emerges. In April 1997, Manchester United went to Anfield 2 points ahead of Liverpool with 5 games remaining. United had wobbled slightly, losing at Sunderland and at home to Derby in the weeks before that clash. Liverpool were also out of form. The result was a 3-1 away win for United, who went on to claim the title in May 2002. Arsenal arrived at Old Trafford 5 points clear with just 2 games to play. They were on an 11-game winning streak and unbeaten in 19 Premier League matches. United needed to win. They could not. Arsenal won 1-0 through Sylvain Wiltord and the title was theirs. In April 2003, Arsenal were 3 points behind United with a game in hand. A 2-2 draw left the title in Arsenal's hands, but they dropped points against Bolton and Leeds in their remaining games. United walked through the door Arsenal had left open. In April 2008, Chelsea were on an 18-match unbeaten run, 3 points behind United with 3 games remaining. Chelsea won 2-1 but slipped on the final day. United claimed their 10th Premier League title. In April 2010, just 1 point separated Chelsea and United with 6 games left. Chelsea won 2-1 at Old Trafford, held that lead for the rest of the season and won the title on the final day by a single point. In May 2011, United led by 3 points with 3 games left when Chelsea came to Old Trafford. United won 2-1 and went on to the title. In April 2012, Manchester City hosted United with both teams level on points and just 2 games remaining. Vincent Kompany headed home the only goal. City went on to win their first Premier League title. And then in April 2014, Liverpool, with an 11-game winning streak and a 5-point lead at the top with 3 games to play, faced Chelsea at Anfield. Gerrard slipped. Chelsea won 2-0. Manchester City stormed through and won the title. That was the only game in this list that did not feature the eventual champions. The evidence from history is striking. Out of 8 previous meetings, the team that was top at the time of the game went on to win the title in 6 of those 8 cases. The second-place team only won the title in 2 instances, both involving Chelsea in 2010 and 2012. But the most critical lesson from history is this. The one time the leader was beaten and went on to lose the title, they had already been showing signs of vulnerability. Liverpool in 2014 had a fragile lead built on momentum rather than consistency. The question Arsenal fans must ask themselves honestly as we approach Sunday is which of those historical scenarios does this Arsenal team most closely resemble? Arsenal's injury crisis. The situation for Arsenal ahead of this game is complicated by a significant injury problem, particularly on the right wing. Bukayo Saka is out, that is confirmed. He has not played a single minute since the international break, and the Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has made it absolutely clear that Saka will not be available for the Manchester City fixture. For a team that relies heavily on Saka's creativity, his goal threat and his ability to draw fouls and create space, this is a substantial loss. Noni Madueke, who joined Arsenal to provide cover and competition on that same right side, picked up a knee problem in the most recent game. Arteta, speaking publicly, said that Madueke did not look too bad after the game and was quite positive, describing him as a player who pushes through pain. However, the manager made it clear that everything depended on whether Madueke could train in the final session before the game. The door was left open, but the uncertainty was real. That leaves a 16-year-old Max Dowman as the primary left-footed option for that right-wing position. Now, let me be honest about what that means analytically. Arteta, when asked directly how confident he was about Dowman starting if needed, gave a response that was clear and committed. He said, and I want you to hear these exact words carefully, he said, the young player will be ready. He said, you can put him in any situation and you know what he will deliver. And he pointed to the evidence from this season in every game Dowman has featured. That is not a manager hedging. That is not a manager buying time. That is a manager who genuinely believes in his young player. Dowman made his presence felt earlier this season against Everton, coming off the bench and completely changing the game. He played a significant role in creating Victor Gyökeres's goal and then scored a brilliant one himself. For a 16-year-old to do that in a Premier League context shows a level of composure and ability that is genuinely rare. But there is a difference between coming on as a substitute against Everton and starting at the Etihad in a potential title decider. That distinction matters. It does not mean Dowman cannot do it. It means the pressure and the context are entirely different. If he does start and performs, he will become an Arsenal legend. That is simply the truth of the situation. Manchester City's own injury blow. It is not only Arsenal dealing with missing players. Manchester City will be without Ruben Dias for this fixture. The Portuguese central defender suffered an ankle injury and is not likely to return for the rest of the month. This is significant for City. Dias is one of the most important defensive organisers in the Premier League. His absence weakens City at the back, particularly against a team that, when functioning at full capacity, is capable of creating dangerous situations through movement and combination play. The evidence suggests that both teams are walking into this fixture with key players missing, Arsenal without Saka on the right, City without Dias at the back. These absences could shape how the game unfolds in fundamental ways. What the managers have said, let me now take you through what both managers have been communicating publicly, because their words reveal a great deal about how each side is approaching Sunday. Arteta was asked a question that frankly gets to the heart of Arsenal's mentality going into this game. He was asked, hand on your heart, if somebody offered you a draw right now, would you take it? His answer was immediate and unambiguous. He said no. He said, we want to win the game. He said, we are there to win the game. He said, we need to win the game and we are preparing to win the game. That is a manager who has drawn a line. He is not going to the Etihad to park the bus. He is not going there to protect a lead. He is going there to win. Whether that tactical ambition is matched by his team's execution on the day remains to be seen, but the mentality being communicated publicly is correct. Arteta also pushed back firmly on something Guardiola had suggested, which was that the title race would effectively be over if Arsenal win. Arteta's response was measured and intelligent. He said there are 6 games to go. He acknowledged the importance of the fixture, saying it will incline the balance a little bit. But he was careful to point out that winning in the Premier League is tough for everybody and that both teams still have very difficult matches remaining regardless of Sunday's result. That is a manager managing expectations while also showing he understands the bigger picture. Now, Guardiola's words ahead of this game are equally fascinating. He spoke about Arsenal with genuine admiration. He said he enjoys watching them. He said he learns from them. He pointed to the fact that Arsenal have gone 22 years without winning the Premier League, calling that something that makes them unique, something City cannot compete with emotionally. It was an unusually open and generous set of comments from a man who very rarely gives opponents this kind of credit before a major game. But Guardiola also showed his tactical mind when he spoke about what City need to replicate. He referenced their second-half display against Arsenal in a previous game at Wembley. suggesting that if City can maintain that level for a full 95 minutes, they will be in an excellent position. He immediately qualified that by acknowledging football is unpredictable. But the message was clear. City know what level they need to hit. Guardiola also made an interesting comment about City's remaining fixture list, calling their calendar terrible. He listed Everton away, Bournemouth away, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Brentford and Aston Villa at home on the final day. He singled out Crystal Palace specifically, suggesting concern about that particular fixture. This tells you something important. Even if City win on Sunday, Guardiola knows the road ahead is not straightforward. The player comparisons and squad dynamics, one of the most compelling analytical debates around this fixture, centres on the midfield battle. The comparison between Rodri and Martin Zubimendi per 90 minutes in the Premier League this season makes for interesting reading. Rodri edges Zubimendi in the majority of defensive output metrics. In tackles made, aerial duel success, duels won overall, ground duel success, clearances and ball recoveries, Rodri comes out ahead. Zubimendi leads in passing accuracy and interceptions. What that comparison tells me analytically is that Rodri is the more physically dominant and defensively complete midfielder when it comes to winning the ball and protecting the defensive structure. Zubimendi is the more precise passer with better interception instincts. Now, add to this the context from Opta Analyst, which showed a chart of Declan Rice's pressing output per 90 minutes across the Premier League season. The trend line has been going downward. After the Champions League game against Sporting, Arteta himself described Rice as shattered. A player who is shattered after a midweek European game going into the biggest league fixture of the season is a serious concern. This is not an insult to Rice. He is an elite player. But the workload he has been carrying this season has taken a toll. The numbers show it clearly. His pressing intensity, which was one of his greatest contributions to Arsenal's high-energy system, has dropped as the season has progressed. That matters enormously in a game against Manchester City, where the midfield battle will be absolutely central. Arteta, on the subject of Zubimendi, spoke about the club's responsibility to give players the tools to step up, to understand when they are not at their best and to unlock what they are capable of. He praised Zubimendi's Champions League performance specifically, highlighting the reaction the Spaniard showed in that game as evidence of his character and quality. That context matters because it suggests Arteta is actively working to bring Zubimendi back to his best at exactly the right moment. Odegaard and the return of key players. Martin Odegaard is one of Arsenal's most important players, and Arteta's comments about him ahead of this game were deeply revealing. He said he would need to go back 5 years to fully explain what Odegaard means to the team, the club, and to him personally. He described Odegaard's contribution as huge. He acknowledged that injuries have made this season very unlucky for the Norwegian, but he highlighted what he called Odegaard's hunger and desire to be with the team and noted that every time he plays, you see the difference he makes. The question of whether Odegaard features against Manchester City is one of the most important team news questions heading into Sunday. If he is fit and starts, that changes Arsenal's creative capability significantly. Odegaard provides the kind of intelligent movement, precise passing and technical composure that Arsenal need in a game of this magnitude. Arteta also spoke about Timber, Calafiori and Odegaard collectively, saying they will try again, that some players are close, but that the turnaround after the midweek Champions League game has been short. He was honest that if they are in good condition, they will be part of the squad, and if not, they will not be, in the same way they have not been available in recent weeks. That honesty is important. It sets expectations, but it also shows that Arteta is not going to risk players who are not ready, voices from outside. Several prominent figures in football have weighed in on this fixture, and their perspectives add important texture to the analysis. Paul Merson was direct in his assessment. He said that if Manchester City win on Sunday, they become the favourites to win the Premier League title 100%. He argued that it is now in City's hands because of how poorly Arsenal performed in their recent game against Bournemouth. He also raised doubts about whether Arsenal, given their current form, could win all of their remaining games, even if they somehow held on to top spot. He described the turnaround in the title race as unbelievable, calling it mind-blowing. That is a hard assessment, but analytically, Merson's logic holds up when you look at the trajectory of both clubs over the past several weeks. Didier Drogba also offered strong criticism of Arsenal's recent performances. He argued that the only way Arsenal can silence the doubters is to go to the Etihad and win. He was pointed in his observation that goalkeeper David Raya had been making more passes than midfielders like Declan Rice or Martin Zubimendi, describing that as saying a lot about how the team has been playing. He questioned the defensive mindset, arguing that a team in a title race cannot afford to be that passive at home and that strikers need to be involved more. That criticism from Drogba is consistent with what the numbers show about Arsenal's drop in pressing intensity and their more cautious recent approach. Whether that caution was tactical and deliberate, designed to manage the squad through a brutal fixture schedule, or whether it reflects a genuine drop in confidence and energy, is a question that Sunday will begin to answer. Granit Xhaka, the former Arsenal captain, spoke from a place of genuine affection for the club. He said he would love to see Arsenal win the trophy this season. He called them a very good team right now and said he is confident they have every chance to win both the Premier League and the Champions League. His belief in this Arsenal squad was clear and unqualified. Antoine Semenyo and the Bournemouth detail here is a fascinating detail that adds important context to Arsenal's form coming into Sunday's game. Antoine Semenyo, a Manchester City winger, revealed that the night before Arsenal's game against Bournemouth, he messaged his former Bournemouth teammates and simply asked them to do him a favour. He was watching while City prepared for training. Bournemouth went out and beat Arsenal 2-1. Semenyo confirmed that was the only reason he was watching the game, and the result he was hoping for arrived. This is a small human detail, but it speaks to how other teams in the league are now watching Arsenal's results with enormous interest. City players are tracking Arsenal's form. They are engaged in the race. The psychological pressure that comes with everyone watching your every move is part of the challenge Arsenal face. Semenyo himself spoke about City's readiness for Sunday, saying their form over the last couple of games has been strong and they have been playing probably the best football of the second half of the season. He pointed out that while Arsenal's form has dipped, City have picked up. He was respectful of Arsenal, acknowledging they are still top despite the Bournemouth loss, but his tone was one of confidence, not fear. The head-to-head record, looking at the last 10 meetings between Manchester City and Arsenal in the Premier League, tells an important story. City have dominated this fixture in recent years. They recorded wins of 5-0, 4-1, 1-2 and 1-3 against Arsenal across this period. Arsenal's victories include a 1-0 win and a 2-2 draw that felt significant at the time. The most recent meeting this season ended 1-1, and Sunday's clash is the next entry in that head-to-head record. The weight of that record sits on Arsenal's shoulders. But records are made to be broken, and the circumstances of Sunday are unlike any previous meeting between these two clubs. Arsenal are top of the league. They are 6 points clear. They have the most to gain and the most to lose simultaneously. The 1989 comparison. The observation that Arsenal have not faced a title decider of this importance in 37 years, since their famous victory at Anfield in 1989, is one that deserves to be taken seriously as an analytical reference point. In 1989, Arsenal needed to win by 2 goals at Anfield on the final night of the season to take the title from Liverpool. The odds were stacked against them completely, and they did it. Michael Thomas scored in injury time. It was arguably the most dramatic moment in English football history. The situation in 2026 is different, but the emotional weight carries some parallel. Arsenal are trying to do something they have not done in 22 years. The 22nd anniversary of their last title is not just a statistical footnote. It is the reason the City of Arsenal's supporters has been carrying this particular burden for so long. Every player in that dressing room knows what Sunday means, not just for the club in the abstract, but for the supporters who have waited 2 decades for this, Arteta's mentality and the Wolfpack. One detail about Arteta's motivational methods is worth noting here because it speaks to how he has built this team's identity. It has been reported that Arteta once used imagery of a pack of wolves to encourage his team to hunt in packs, to press aggressively, to snap at the heels of the opposition collectively rather than as individuals. The players have responded positively to his methods throughout this build. That kind of psychological framing is not accidental. Arteta has constructed a culture of collective aggression and shared identity. The question for Sunday is whether that Wolfpack energy is still present, whether Rice's declining pressing numbers, the absences of Saka and potentially others, and the physical fatigue of a long season have dulled the edge, or whether the occasion itself, the magnitude of the moment, will sharpen it. Let me bring everything together now. Arsenal go into Sunday's game at the Etihad as the league leaders. They carry the weight of 22 years without a title. They do so without their best right winger in Bukayo Saka. They do so with questions over the fitness of Madueke, Timber, Calafiori and Odegaard. They do so with data suggesting their midfield engine Declan Rice is running low on fuel. And they do so against a Manchester City side who, despite their own absence of Ruben Dias, are in improving form and playing at home. Against all of that, Arteta has said clearly and publicly, we are going there to win. Historical precedent says that the team sitting first in this kind of fixture goes on to win the title in 6 out of 8 previous cases. Arsenal have the points lead. Arsenal have the motivation of 2 decades of hurt. Arsenal have a manager who has built a genuine belief structure around this squad. Manchester City have the experience of winning this league multiple times. They have a manager in Guardiola who knows exactly how to prepare for and win the biggest games. And they have nothing to lose, as Haaland himself pointed out, having spent most of the season chasing Arsenal from behind. What Sunday will tell us, beyond any result, is the true character of this Arsenal generation. The moments that define clubs are not the easy wins. They are the moments when everything is on the line, when key players are missing, when doubt is creeping in from outside, and the team finds a way regardless. Arsenal have the opportunity to create one of those moments. That is what the Etihad awaits, and that is what every Arsenal supporter across the world will be watching for on Sunday. Thank you for watching. Melissa, Arsenal analyst. If you found this analysis useful and you want to stay ahead of every development in this title race and beyond, please subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. This is where serious Arsenal analysis lives.